are now listening to the IELTS podcast. Learn from tutors and ex-examiners who are masters of IELTS preparation. Your host, Ben Worthington.
Hello there, IELTS students. In this tutorial, we're looking at some new IELTS questions seen by our students who did the exam and also collected from around the internet. What we're going to do is just look at these recent questions, and I'm going to tell you how I would answer them, and I'm going to give you a brief overview about what we cover in our online course. This is quite straightforward. Once you start doing this day in, day out, you can understand it's not so difficult. And also, if you've got that framework to organize your ideas, it becomes even simpler. And that's what we teach on our online courses. We give you a framework, we give you the feedback, and we make sure that you're on the right track to passing IELTS. And that's why we launched our free essay check evaluation tool, whereby you can get detailed feedback on your essays, and you can get you can get a rough estimation of your score. So you can get your essay evaluated for the 4 different criteria. And if you want more detailed feedback, it's like $12 a month, and you can submit as many essays as you want. How good is that? And this is really valuable, actually. You need this because, one, if you've got your exam coming up, you need to get that feedback as fast as possible. You need to pinpoint exactly where you're tripping up, where you're going wrong. 2, maybe you have a wave of motivation at the weekend and you just want to say, okay, I don't know, the festival is cancelled, or I'm just going to dedicate these 3 days to really dig into IELTS non-stop. Then you want your feedback as fast as possible so you can keep that momentum and keep improving. And thirdly, you also need this, if you're studying alone, especially for task 2, for your writing. If you're studying alone and you're writing essays without that detailed feedback, it's quite difficult to improve, and the advantage of using this technology is that it's fast, it's quick, and it's very inexpensive. And during October, we are doing, and we'll probably continue, we're doing workshops every week for the students who are who are subscribed to the essay checking service. One last thing before we jump in, if you listen for the first time, my name is Ben Worthington. I'm from the UK. I spent the last 20 years outside of the UK. It's probably why you can understand me, and I don't have a typical northerner accent. I quickly had to lose this so people could understand me. But I spent the last 10, 12, 14 years deep in IELTS and just getting better. I started rejecting my business students about 10 years ago, rejecting teenagers, and I was just like, no, I'm only preparing students for the IELTS exam. And how did I get proficient? How did I specialize? Well, I started interviewing the best experts around, ex-IELTS examiners, pronunciation experts, linguistic analysts, anybody and everybody who I thought would help students pass the exam. And I collected these interviews, I published them, and that's what gave birth to IELTS Podcast. Eventually I was knowledgeable enough to launch a course, and the rest, as they say, is history. So let's jump into it. Today's questions. Some people think that dangerous sports should be banned. Others, however, believe that that people should be free to choose sports activities. Discuss both these views and give your own opinion. Body paragraph 1, dangerous sports should definitely be banned. We are in 2022. People should not have to die doing dangerous sports. There is enough technology. human knowledge and understanding that people should not have to be put through these situations. Okay. For example, there's a recent trend occurring over the last 10 years of people, I think it's called, it's not skydiving, I'd just have to say where people, I wouldn't call the name if I don't know it, but I'd say whereby people jump out from high spots with flying suits to basically free fall down mountains, out of planes, and with their special suits they claim that they can fly, and then they parachute the final 200-500 meters. This sport should definitely be banned. It has a mortality rate of over 50%, and there is no need for it in modern society. Okay, that's body paragraph 1. It's not the best. I know I could maybe extend it. When I started, I was thinking about Formula 1, but then I was on the wrong path, so I just quickly ditched that because I was thinking about the safety regulations, but then I was contradicting myself, so I was just like, okay, let's stick with flying suits, and I'll just develop that. That's it. And now I could go into more detail with an example. For example, in Wales, 3 people have died from this sport in the last 5 years, which pushed the government to outlaw the activity, and even the sale of these suits is made illegal, and anybody caught possessing or facilitating a sale of these suits or the sport can face up to 20 years behind bars in jail. Okay, I don't know if that's true, but it sounds realistic. It's kind of what the government would do if it wants to ban these activities. And I needed to fill up my essay, so I've invented this example. All our students on the online course are taught this technique, and then all you have to do is drop it into the framework we provide. It's straightforward, it's fast, it's effective, and it frees up more time for you to focus on your grammar and your vocabulary. Second part of this essay will be body paragraph, and I'm going to talk about however others believe people should be free to choose sports activities. I completely agree with this one as well. I'm just going to say definitely we live in a free society. People should be free to choose to do so as they wish. More so in a lot of dangerous activities, the mortality element has been regulated out of the sport to such an extent that deaths rarely occur, and when they do, decisive action is taken to prevent it from happening again. Now I can talk about Formula 1. I can talk about Jules Bianchi dying from about 10 years ago, I think it was, and then certain regulations were brought in to prevent this from ever happening again, such as no trucks allowed on the road, the halo, which is a technological device to stop cars, stop drivers spinning on their heads when the car flips over. That would probably be quite a difficult sentence, so I would just probably list it and I'd say something in more basic terms, such as the halo effect, which enables safer crashes. Also, these regulating authorities to a large extent have reduced the risk to very rare occurrences without destroying the spectacle, and therefore it justifies the freedom of choice to participate in these activities for the public. Okay, there we go. I know it might have sounded a bit disjointed. That's why we use the framework then, just to pop these ideas into a beautiful, elegant, coherent, high-scoring body paragraph that makes it so much easier. moving on to question 2. In today's world, people spend a lot of money on appearance because they want to look younger. Why does this happen? Do you think this is a positive or negative development? Now, admittedly, this is the second time I'm attempting this question. I'll hold my hand up. I did a typical mistake, which is I generated a few ideas and I just went off. I started developing these ideas for both body paragraphs, and then I was working through the second body paragraph and I realized I had not totally, but I had gone off topic. I was talking about the media focusing on youth, and that was valid for my first body paragraph, but then in my second body paragraph I said it's a negative development because the elderly do not feel part of society. And then I realized, and I started developing it, and then eventually, after 5 minutes, I realized you have not mentioned Ben. You have not mentioned a single word in your second body paragraph about people spending a lot of money on appearance because they want to look younger. So I was completely off topic. I want to do this again. So my first body paragraph was totally on topic. What I was talking about was that society is obsessed with younger people, with youth. This is largely because advertising dollars and pounds, or advertising money, is spent targeting the younger generations because around adolescence, around the age of adolescence, consumers usually make buying decisions that they follow for the rest of their life. Therefore, in order to reach these younger people, experience shows showing younger people on advertising and media makes it easier and more attractive for this generation. It makes it easier to sell products and makes it easier for this generation to associate. However, one of the consequences of this is that society appear obsessed with youth, and therefore causing a lot of people to spend money in order to appear youthful, because that is what seems trendy and more valued in society. Okay? And that's basically my idea for body paragraph 1. I can put an example in there and I can develop it further, but that's basically why. And in my example, actually, I can talk about a multinational company like Unilever spending 20 million to target young adolescent males for the body spray called Axe. And part of this campaign, involved a lot of beautiful, youthful models, male and female, to be plastered on billboards and online adverts and TV adverts, giving the impression society was obsessed, furthering or fueling the idea of valuing youth more than others, and ultimately pushing the youth as being more important, and eventually encouraging other people to spend money on their appearance in order to make themselves look younger. So it's quite a long way to get back, but I definitely wanted to include the part about money in the body paragraph 1 just to make sure I was on topic. Looking back on this, I could probably choose an easier, more straightforward argument. Maybe the beauty industry, maybe the association of youth with vitality, with newness, with novelty, with increased attractiveness, and with such a consumerist society being so obsessed with appearance, it's natural. People want to make themselves look younger and ultimately to make themselves more attractive. Probably that's an easier argument to explain. That's body paragraph 1. Do I think it's positive or negative? I definitely going to say it's negative because the money could be spent on other issues. For example, an elderly person, instead of spending money on a facelift, could spend that money on learning about other cultures and be of more use for society. For example, she could learn about another culture and a language, and act as an intermediator between these two cultures if they were in the city, if they did arrive, which is a lot more valuable for society than a facelift. Okay, there we go. There's a bit of a long argument. With the framework, it would just automatically cut it down, make it more straightforward, make it easier to write, and just make the whole process a lot easier. But there we go. We've got the general idea there. We've brainstormed a few ideas. We dropped them into our framework. We've got 2 high-scoring body paragraphs, and that is where we get the bulk of the points. Now, final question. Many governments think that their economic progress is their most important goal. Some people, however, think that other types of progress are equally important for a country. Discuss both these views and give your own opinion. Okay, viewpoint 1, economic progress is the important goal. Body paragraph 2, other types of progress are equally important. So, I think traditionally economic progress has been the default goal, because from this, in theory, the country is becoming richer and people are getting more jobs, and the overall well-being and living standards of the country, in theory, should be improving. Okay? So, for example, in the last 30 years, China's GDP has risen by roughly 20% each year, and the average Chinese person now is vastly wealthier and lives a incredibly more comfortable life than their parents did, and their parents before that. So in this, the Chinese government, by pursuing the economic progress, has largely brought up the living standards of the population. So it's definitely valid. Okay. Second, body paragraph. However, with the let's just go back to the question, make sure we're on topic. Some people, however, think that other types of progress are equally important for a country. Yes, so true. So I'm going to say, however, nowadays, other types of progress are definitely important. I'd rephrase that because I don't want to use words from the question. I'm just using it for my own line of thought. Other types of progress are equally important, especially in the age of climate change, global warming, and horrific destruction of natural resources and environment. Okay? And then I would write about how the European Union has witnessed this and has established climate change goals in order to reduce carbon dioxide pollution. How I could even talk about how Bhutan measures the happiness of its people rather than its economic growth. I can talk about I would mention Bhutan first, then I would talk about the European Union and develop the European Union one with an example. Okay, and I could even conclude that economic growth can be a valuable tool. However, for some countries, it might not. For example, the country could be growing at 15% per year, But if the people live in toxic environment with polluted water and a concrete jungle, then it largely calls into question the relentless pursuit of economic growth. There we go. And a lovely little eloquent phrase there, which I could save for my conclusion. I could pop into my body paragraph too. It just depends. Okay, but that was a logical sort of like conclusion that basically economic growth can be good for some people, for countries. For other countries, it might not be the best choice. There we go. So thank you very much for listening. If you want to carry on improving your score, then please get in contact. Join us at IELTSPodcast.com. And remember, we have our new essay checking tool now live. So go to IELTSPodcast.com. You'll see the link there and you can join and get instant BAM scores. Instantly discover how you are progressing with your IELTS exam preparation. So that's it from me. Have a super day. Thank you for listening. And if you know anybody who is preparing for the exam and who you think would benefit from learning all about what we've talked about today, then please send them this podcast, share the site with them, and we can help more people. So have a fantastic day. Thanks for listening and good luck with your IELTS exam.
Thanks for listening to IELTSPodcast.com.